The reason for making this video isn't to flex my rundown World War I house, but instead to walk you through the selling process of expensive Counter-Strike items, and what not to do if you decide to make a large purchase with those funds. This market is unregulated. Valuing certain items can seem daunting. There's always a fake site or an impersonator ready to run off with all that you have. And the general public doesn't even know it exists. What should have been 2 weeks for me to purchase and complete the paperwork turned into a month, and financials were the main issue. Now that I've gone through this process myself and made what seemed like every single mistake possible, I want to run through the entire process and help you as we are all growing up and making choices like these. To start, you actually need something to sell. My channel is focused on the investment possibilities of Counter-Strike. The game has a fully functioning market with items that slowly decrease in quantity over time, giving you a real opportunity to invest in items. If you're brand new, I have a complete guide that I will link below. But maybe you're someone like me. Counter-Strike features cases and capsules, which is how you actually obtain these items. Nearly any item you can buy will come from one of these two methods. I was very fortunate to hit the 1 in a million from a fracture case, which is the 403 pattern skeleton case hardened. This is the full blue pattern for the skeleton knife, making it the most valuable variant of all 1000 patterns. Being battle scarred, which is the worst condition of the game, it was difficult to evaluate. I used previous sales of field tested versions as reference. Zipple also had a battle scarred 403 he was helping a guy sell that I could use as a baseline, and I also approached my peers to see what they thought. I got a few things wrong, as those looking to steal the knife from me would sometimes provide misinformation, but at the end of the day, I landed at a number near $20,000 USD. But unfortunately, upon learning that the house I was renting got listed on the market, I was motivated to sell. After receiving an offer on Buff163 from a comment under an artwork I posted on the site, I accepted 130,000 RMB or $18,000 USD. But if you're looking to sell on a reputable third-party marketplace, actually selling the item is typically the easy part. Once you figure out what an item is worth, you just list it based on how fast you want it to sell and wait. But here's the hard part. When choosing a marketplace, you have to consider the cash out options. Some only accept crypto, some will do a bank transfer, and in my case, selling on Buff, there is no cash out option for someone like me as it's a Chinese site. Well, that's where my road gets a bit tricky, but considering that Buff is the premier marketplace, many of you will likely end up in my situation one way or another. Buying and selling Buff balance is all based on reputation. Whether it's a long-standing position in the community or a CSGO rep account, you have no choice but to trust someone you have never seen before. It's why people get baited by fake accounts so often. The person without a strong reputation will typically send the balance or the item first. So if you see a fake anomaly account and he tells you to send the item first, that's expected because it's anomaly. Why would he risk everything for a few $1,000s? Confirming that you are trading with someone who isn't impersonating a larger individual is extremely important if you haven't already built those relationships. For me, I sold to a bunch of different people. Some I have traded with before, and some I haven't. But to this day, after hundreds of balance transfers, sales, and purchases of items, I have never been scammed. I won't go through it all, but the first step is making sure your own account is secure, and following guides like this should be done before any trades are initiated. So through buying items well above their list price, receiving bank transfers or whatever method the purchaser chose, and finally sending the item back after the trade hold, I had finally received the money in my bank account. And now we have to tackle the real world, and this is where I had a massive learning experience. Now I want to be very careful here, as location plays a massive role. Canada will be different from other countries. Alberta will be different from other provinces. Houses may be different than vehicle or product loans, and to some degree, location and timing can play a big part. But here is my nightmare experience of trying to receive a house loan with money that the banks and the lawyers didn't understand. First off, I could waive taxes as gambling winnings are not taxable in Canada, and that's exactly what this was. Investment items should be filed appropriately, and once again, there are a ton of variables that can change the way you do taxes. But don't think that CSGO skins exist in a fantasy world and aren't taxable. Money is money. I was able to provide proof through my inventory history that this item I sold was received through luck and was not questioned further. There are likely many people in your area that have a reputation for dealing with online earnings as I did, and that's who you should be seeking out. Now for the mortgage. In Canada, there's a ton of documentation necessary, and collateral is one of them. Hunting for a better rate, I included my existing CS items as collateral. My broker decided that the best route would be to file these items under NFTs, as there are many similarities in the way they are traded. My broker also said he had done something like this before, and looking back, I don't believe him. Anything crypto related is an absolute nightmare for any insurance company, as the wild west of crypto involves a ton of pump and dumps and laundering. Trying to show CS items in that light makes it seem even worse, as there is no blockchain, so how can you provide proof? I learned the hard way that you can't. And after some back and forth, we removed the skins from my collateral soon after. But that didn't solve my problem. What also needed to be provided was a 3-month bank statement, which would showcase every single transaction. Well, I just received about 24,000 Canadian in that period of time, and I need to explain that too. First, they asked what WISE was, which is what I used for international bank transfers. So I provided my 3-month statement from WISE through screenshots of transactions. Well, that's not good enough, as the money was being transferred to WISE, so we need a 3-month from wherever these funds originated from. Well, the funds technically came from Buff, so I provided Buff transaction history, inventory history showing that I received the item by pure luck from a $3 case, which is exactly how I provide proof for taxes, by the way. A screenshot of my Twitter DMs showing how a sale is conducted, and my own investment guide video so they could accurately understand how the market functions. After maybe 25 emails I sent in a 2-week period trying to push this through, I was finally met with a brick wall. My money was not trusted for financing. Luckily for me, my parents sold their house recently, and I was able to receive a gift letter for the mortgage and transfer the money to my parents' bank account after. But one thing was clear, the money from my bank account was not going to be used for the mortgage. I think all of the chaos that happened came from the initial tip to use something familiar like NFTs. While many banks will have someone aware of the crypto space, that also means they're aware of all of the unethical money coming in and out of that market. They are knowledgeable enough to understand it's a risk. By providing my version of proof, there's obviously no stored transaction on the blockchain, as CS doesn't have any relation with cryptocurrencies. This made it seem like I was hiding information. Ignoring that aspect, another issue with Counter-Strike is the lack of a comprehensive summary of transactions. But maybe something like Skinport or GamerPay would make your life easier, as all of these transactions are done on the site. Bank transfers for Buff Balance are an absolute nightmare, as all the individual transfers from multiple people are obviously going to be very off-putting. Counter-Strike items are not based on a blockchain, so crypto should be out of the question. They also can't be pure investments, as they are tangible items that have a market value attached to them. If you are ever in my position, use your best judgment and do listen to your broker, but if I did it again, they would be registered under digital collectibles. By registering everything as digital collectibles, I feel like my method of showing how an item was obtained, sold, transferred, and also providing an explanation as to how these items maintain real-world value would have been much more effective. I think we are still too early in this game for your average banker to understand anything related to Counter-Strike, and this is the byproduct of that. But I indirectly forced my realtor, my broker, my lawyer, and maybe a few people working at the bank to become aware of what Counter-Strike is and how the market functions on a very fundamental level. The next time someone comes around trying to do the same thing, they will have a better understanding of the process, and maybe one day it won't be such a nightmare. But for now, this is the process I went through, and I hope it helps anyone who may find themselves in this same situation in the future.